Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Shanti started her company Bling Entertainment in March 2007, in Star Screen Awards and FOI Online Awards in 2018 for her outstanding performance in Lipstick Under My Burqa. And with these women will be our moderator, Mr. Somnath Sen.
I think women should rule the world. That's the way I think about it. This is not the first time I've had interactions on Women's Day, and I think one thing that we men miss is the ability to bring life into this world. Only women can bring life, which is why if you've been following what's happening, the zeitgeist, India, Pakistan, Abhinandan, I've learned more about Abhinandan's mother than I've learned about him. That's really what our society is all about. You ladies are workers, you work, you're professionals, you're also mothers. So what I want to talk about is it more difficult being a woman in your work life? When I say work life, I just don't mean your professional life. What do you do at home? I want to talk about your partners, how they contribute. Because a lot of my kids, when I interview them, I ask them, what do your parents do? They say, my dad's a businessman, he's a doctor, he's an engineer. And when I say, what does your mother do? They quiet down and say, oh, she's only a housewife. And I have to tell them that, I'm sorry, your mother works harder than your father does. Absolutely. Do you guys agree? Anybody here? Okay. All right. So let me start with Meghna because I know more about it. Okay, let's go. I'll start myself. I'll talk about my mother. मेरे पास माँ है. Shanti.
Mic भी है आपके पास.
Shanti. So tell me a little bit about your journey, and then we want to specifically talk about what impediments you faced as a woman.
So, hello, can you hear me? Thank you firstly for having me. It's nice to be here and chat about this.
Big fan of your films, I've told you.
Thank you so much, that's so kind of you. Although there are just 2 of them, it feels good. So the journey has been actually great so far, touch wood. I've only worked with amazing people who have only nurtured and allowed me to grow. So that's been a great, learning, because obviously there's going to be trouble and there's going to be roadblocks everywhere. But I think if you're focused and if you have the right people backing you, that can be fantastic. So my partners are great. We all have the same set of ethics. We may obviously disagree on a lot of things, which is healthy, but our our value system is the same, our core is the same. So then it doesn't matter. And we all believe that you need a great work-life balance. Otherwise it can go crazy. Otherwise there's no life really. Because it's each that drives the other for me. I need my work as well to feel that I'm doing something else as well for my own thing. It's not for anything else. I love going to work. I love when, even after my child, I was happy to come back to work. And when I go home, I'm cherishing that time as well, because I'm trying to balance. There's no such thing that balance exists, but I'm trying.
Okay, a blunt question. Have you ever had somebody mansplain to you?
Sorry, what?
Mansplain, man-explaining.
No.
I will tell you. I'm a man.
Oh, no, never. I've never had that actually.
Well, you're lucky.
I'm very lucky. I'm very, very lucky. Obviously, there was one incident I remember. My partner is Atul Kasbekar, who's also very, very supportive. And there was an incident where I think one of our team members was spoken badly to. He personally called that person in front of all of us and said, I'm going to really, really take you down. You cannot. This is just no way to behave. So that code of conduct has been with us from day one. We've never, even if someone's spoken badly to me or a team member, it's never taken lightly. We've always replied very sternly, and it comes from the top. It's not just like, hey, I didn't like what you did. It's very, very a strongly worded email or a legal letter or anything that means an authority has called up and said, listen, it's not okay. So we don't want to work with you again. So we've taken that stand very, very clearly. So no, I've been very lucky. I've not faced this at all, actually.
So your company officially has a policy?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I want Meghna to talk about that in a bit, but Meghna, tell us about your journey. When I first met you, I didn't know, but you were pregnant. Since then, you've had 2 kids?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
you have 3. Whistling Woods is your oldest
first
baby.
Yeah, my kids are quite jealous when I say that. How can you say that? So, good morning, everyone. It's been quite an amazing journey, and I think one of the things that I have really, really learned to appreciate is actually the men in my life. Because when I got pregnant, Whistling Woods was just about a year old. And at that point, there was a little worry that, because I was helming an institute, it was a new school, how was I going to manage? I had to assure everyone that, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be one of those women who works till their 9th month, so I think that determination within me made it happen. I was working till a week before I delivered, and then the question to come back. I mean, I know a lot of you here are college kids, and you may not relate to me very well, but the hardest part of a woman getting back to her career or to her job is after she has the baby, that separation anxiety. It's not just from the child, it's from us as well. 3-4 months of just living, breathing, seeing that baby and nurturing for it, you just are so nervous to get back. And one of the things I have to thank my organization for is that they literally bullied me into coming back into work. My husband works with me, which made it so much easier for me to take a maternity break without any stress that somebody was going to take over my job, because that's what would happen otherwise. And he also then came back home every night and said, please come back, I can't handle this. So that made me feel good, because I felt, okay, maybe I need to go back, because he's really having
still feels the same
he's
way.
really having a stressful time. My father, who first time I came back after 3 months, second time I was trying to take a longer maternity. That time 6 months wasn't official. He literally bullied me into coming back. He said, what are you doing? It's been 4 months, you have to come back. I know if he was just my boss, it would be probably harassment for bringing me back to work, but because he was my father, it was all right. But I think if he hadn't done that, it would have been much harder for me to come back. So first of all, men at work, or just leadership at work, it could be women, men or women who are in the leadership positions need to be very empathetic towards women, I feel. Equality, but they need to really understand what it takes to come back to work. I have a senior colleague at work right now, and I spend the whole morning motivating her to come back to work, and she is taking a break, and I can feel her anxieties. And the great thing is that because I've been through it, I've been able to really encourage her to come back, giving her the assurance that, it's okay, you can work from home, you can do part-time. And one of the things she said to me just this morning was that, I know I have your support and I know you're great, but people watch you when you leave early. People in the organization judge you that, oh, why is she leaving at 5 just because she has the mom card? And I said to her that, I felt that as well. Being the boss, I felt that, but I just became immune to it, because at the end of the day, how many working hours do we actually dedicate? And I've found women who are working with kids at home are actually more, I don't know what it is, maybe guilt, maybe just passion or whatever, they want to give 120% of those 6 hours or 7 hours that they spend at work. So I feel that women are, if you give them that encouragement to be able to work from home or whatever, they will actually give back more to the company than men who are working 12 hours a day. I think leadership is very important, which is what in my journey, I would say that really worked for me.
Well, talking about leadership, you bring up some very valid points. Whistling Woods is an organization, the first one I worked at, where there are more women than men. And it comes from the top. Yours also? We'll talk about that in a second. And it comes from the top. And as I said, all of you guys out there experience working for a woman once, and you'll realize why the wars are not fought on this planet by women. They're fought by men. Let's talk a little bit about why we have more women, and is it because of your empathy, understanding what a woman goes through? The radical policies you put in place, maternity leave, having a creche at work. Let's talk a little bit about what you've personally done to empower the women on our campus.
So one, that whenever we've interviewed for a position, we've never made that distinction whether we want to. I mean, I know companies that do that, okay, if I'm hiring a head of accounts, it must be a man.
I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you, Meghna. Yeah. I don't think that you consciously sit and say, she's got estrogen, he's got testosterone, let's take her. But I think what happens is that when you interview or when they talk to other people, they get the sense that women are respected here. This is a good place to work. Perhaps they get more encouraged than other places.
And I also am quite sensitive towards the men in my organization, because a couple of times that we've had Women's Day celebrations, the first few years, Mr. Somnath Sen here stood up and said, what about Men's Day celebrations? So
We don't get roses.
Come up with the day, come up with the day. So after that, I don't know if you noticed, but we started giving chocolates to men as well. And we said, whether you eat it up or you take it for your wife or sister or mom, but you know what, you should celebrate this day as well. So personally, whenever I have addressed my organization, staff, faculty, I've always spoken about life-work balance, but I've always said the life-work balance applies for men as well. I feel very strongly that if men do spend some more time at home, women can then actually spend more time at work as well. So that balance in today's day and age, when both husband and wife are working, it's important that men as well find that balance. So we have, I know you look at women bringing their kids to work, but we have a lot of men who bring their kids. Yeah, I mean, he brings his son, but we have a lot of men bringing their kids at work. One of my favorite examples about our creche is that when I when I just had my kids, I brought my kids from day one. Okay, from the time I started, I was feeding them, breastfeeding them at work, and I used to bring them up, and they had a room. I started feeling like there were other women who were pregnant, and I started encouraging them to bring their babies at work. And they had different sorts of problems. Like they said to me, ma'am, you know, we come by train, and how do we bring a small baby in the train? It's so much easier to just, you know, kind of leave the milk at home and leave them with our mom or mother-in-law. So I understood whatever works for them. But then I had an opportunity for another female colleague of mine who wanted to use the creche. And I said, great, we did it up, you know, put everything out there. A couple of weeks, the day she started, with her daughter came her husband. And her husband sat in the creche with the baby while she worked on a computer, Disha. I was amazed. I was like, Disha, how come your husband is over? She's like, you know, he has a BD role. He has to just travel for work or work out, you know, from wherever he is. And he really wanted me to join back, so he's supporting me. You know, every time I think about this story, I have goosebumps, because I just feel that India is changing, things are changing, men are taking more responsibility, and you know, this is the kind of change that we want to see. So men or women, I think we should make an environment which is...
I didn't mean a creche only, I just said creche. Because I've been a house husband for more than a year, taking care of Aman, my son, when my ex-wife was working. Coming to, you know, you also said you have more women working.
Yes.
I want to bring something up here, since we're talking about women and media. I went looking for an office for a film I was making, and my ex-wife was with me, and the owner of the house said, no women after 6 p.m. in this office.